to be my November favorites. Yes, the time is here. It's almost the end of 2023, and it's crazy how fast this time has gone, how fast November went. November literally went by in like the blink of an eye, and I just wanted to say I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know I've said that in almost every video, but honestly, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, so I just want to make sure you guys had a fun time, and I hope you guys spent it with your loved ones and your family. And even though if you don't have anybody to spend it with, I hope you at least had a good holiday. And just be thankful that you're here. You matter, okay? So, yeah, I wanted to get into some eyeshadow palettes first. Again, I don't have too many favorites. Most of them are going to be from the Sephora VIP sale. But I do have a couple of palettes to talk about. So the first two I'm going to mention, and I have been using these throughout November quite a lot. And the first two I really wanted to mention were the two Oden's Eye Merry Christmas palettes. I've had the Merry Christmas palette since last year, but I actually decided to pick up the Christmas Eve palette when Oden's Eye announced that they were going to be restocking both of these. And I pretty much predicted that these palettes were going to be restocked. And because I think that it was just a no-brainer for them. And they ended up selling out again. And they actually sold out before the other two that they released this year sold out. I think they still haven't sold out yet. But these sold out, I think, they didn't sell out as fast as the first and second time that they had these, but this was the only restock for this year. After this, they are going to be completely gone. I'm just glad that people were able to have a chance to grab one of these or grab both, or if you didn't want neither, then grab one of the other two. But I'm just so happy that they did bring them back and they did finally listen to people, because people were so upset about these palettes. And I will say it's just makeup, but at the same time, it is a little bit disappointing. But at the same time, like, some people are complaining when, like, they didn't have any idea they were even restocked. And it's like, if you really wanted it that badly, maybe you should have just grabbed it when you had the chance. But it is what it is. So anyway, I'm going to talk about why I love these. I think I still prefer the Merry Christmas palette over the Christmas Eve palette. It just has always been a favorite of mine since I got it last year. It's just an absolutely stunning color story. I absolutely love the formula in this one. The mattes in this palette are so rich and intense and pigmented. And all the shimmers in this palette are super shifty and just absolutely gorgeous on the eyes. I feel like out of the two, I feel like I can still create a lot more looks with this palette as opposed to the Christmas Eve palette, but I still really love both. I still need to do a look combining both of them. But I reached for this palette twice in November, and I used this shade and this shade again. But this was my #1 most used palette for Christmas last year, and the Christmas Eve palette I've been using a ton this past month as well. But I just love this rich red, these toasty browns and reds and greens. Like, the greens are really pretty, and we have 4 different greens in this palette, so I feel like you have a lot of range with the amount of green looks that you can do in this palette. And I never get bored with this palette. It's just a beautiful, cohesive color story, and the shimmers are unreal. This shade Elf Wish, I know everybody raves about it, but it's such a stunner. It really is a gorgeous, gorgeous multi-chrome. I kind of really want to use that hopefully next week. Hopefully I'll be able to get some use out of this shade, because I have used it a couple times, but I don't think I've used it since the palette bingo that I did with Oden's Eye. But yeah, these are just absolutely stunning. I'm not going to swatch most of them because I've swatched these a bunch of times. But truly, these are probably Oden's Eye's best quality palettes that you can get. I really have heard like very mixed reviews about the newer palettes. They're really not as good and richly pigmented as these were. I think that they like cut a lot of corners there this year, to be honest. But this was still my third palette that I picked up from Oden's Eye this year, because I picked up the collab palettes back in, actually, it was my fourth Oden's Eye palette, because I also got the Trick or Treat palette. So I still picked up 4 Oden's Eye palettes this year, but the other 3 were all collab palettes. But with this palette, I really had FOMO over not picking up this palette last year, and I'm so glad that I got it this year. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the opportunity to get it, because I don't know if these are ever coming back. And I'm like, I feel like if I don't get it this time around, I'm going to regret it. And I'm so happy that I got it, because I've been using it a ton this past month. This actually has been my most used palette in the month of November. I mean, yes, it is my newest palette to my collection, and this is the only palette I got in November. I just really didn't want to get too many palettes. But look at this color story. Isn't it gorgeous? Like, I didn't want any other Christmas palette that was coming out. This was what I wanted. Honestly, every other Christmas palette that came out this year, I mean, not saying that the palettes that have been released aren't beautiful, but this one was the only one I needed. And it's beautiful. I love the blues, the like cooler tone grays, these like mustardy tones, and I love this yellow shade. I've used this shade so much, and I love like these deeper greens, and the range of shimmers are just so beautiful. But the reason why I prefer the Merry Christmas palette over this one is that I wish that there was maybe just like a deeper purple in this palette. I probably would have swapped out this green shade for deep purple, because there are like a couple of purpley toned shimmers in this palette. I feel like it would have been absolutely perfect for me then. But I understand not every palette is made for me, and sometimes Oden's Eye just puts a different twist on their palettes that are different from other brands, and they just make you inspired to try different color combos. Like, it's not exactly, when I look at this palette, like I don't know what to do with it. It's more so that like I can come up with a ton of different looks with this palette. It's more so that it's kind of like a bit of a curveball, and it's different. So that's what makes them so much fun and unique. But this palette is stunning. But I still haven't used this shade or this shade yet. But I've used all of the shimmers in this palette. The only shimmer that I haven't used yet is this shade Wonderful. I have used it on the inner corners and a little bit on my lower lash line, but I haven't used it all over the lid yet. But I've used every other shimmer, and they are absolutely stunning. I think my favorite shade in the palette is this shade Blue Star. This shade is so ridiculously beautiful. It's like this super shimmery blue, but it kind of has this gorgeous like midnight purpley blue shift to it. Especially when you put it on the lids, it shifts so gorgeously. I'm just like such a sucker for these type of like royal blue shimmer shades. I just absolutely love them. And also I've been wearing the yellow and blue quite a lot in this palette together, because I am absolutely obsessed with the color combo of yellow and blue right now. I feel like because of this palette, I'm like, it's such a gorgeous color combo. I never really thought about putting yellow and blue together. I've always put like orange and blue together, or like purple and blue, like those kind of color combos. But for some reason, I never thought about putting yellow with blue. And I think it's just so pretty. And I feel like I have to do a look with like the purpley shades at some point. But it's absolutely stunning. I don't need to keep on raving about it. It's just a great palette, and I've been using it a ton. And I'm so glad that I got it. No regrets purchasing this. I was like, I'm really not going to use it as much as I would the other palette. And honestly, I find myself gravitating towards using this over any other palette this Christmas season. So that should tell you something, that I got my money's worth and I'm using it a ton. So yeah, I really am enjoying both of these. And then I did want to mention the Trick or Treat palette again by Angelica Nyquist. I know I mentioned this last month, But I've been reaching for this quite a bit, combining it with the Christmas Eve palette, because I have been reaching for it to use mostly like these mustardy tone mattes up here, because the Christmas Eve palette doesn't have a brown, like a deep dark chocolatey brown, which is like, this is like a hot cocoa brown kind of shade. I love it. But I actually think that this is my favorite Oden's Eye palette that released this year. The quality of this palette is absolutely insane. The shimmers in here are absolutely phenomenal. And the mattes are just so pigmented and so good. I might even like these mattes more than the ones in the Christmas Eve palette. I don't know. I feel like the mattes in the Merry Christmas palette and in this palette are just fantastic. The Christmas Eve palette still has great mattes, but I'm not like absolutely blown away by them. I think it's the color selection of these, and also the fact that I'm a warm tone girly. But I also need to combine the Merry Christmas palette with this palette. I haven't done that yet because I haven't really found the need to, because again, both of these palettes have pretty much all the colors that I need, that I don't really reach for other palettes when I use these two, because they have every single shade that I need. But I've been using this one under the brow bone when I use the Christmas Eve palette a lot. And I've been using these mustardy shades. I've been using this shade a lot. The shade Howl. It's just a stunning palette. I absolutely love it. I'll swatch one of the shades for you. I still love Trick or Treat. That's my absolute favorite. But this mint shade is probably my second favorite besides the gold. This shade is insanely beautiful. It's like this gorgeous minty silvery, almost bluish tone shade. It's just so stunning. I just didn't want to sit here swatching a million shades, so I just wanted to swatch a couple of the super shifty ones. But look at that one. That one's also super pigmented. They're just all stunning. I just really am loving the quality of this one and the Christmas Eve palette. I wasn't in love with the quality of the Flora Story palette. I don't know what happened with that one, but these three are definitely like some of my favorite palettes from Oden's Eye that they've ever released. I know this one came out last year. I mean, so did this one, but these two are newer to me, and they're some of my favorite palettes I've gotten this year. So yeah, that should tell you something. Okay. Then I just have one ColourPop palette to talk about. I just wanted to mention this one again. I've been using it quite a ton this past November as well. I've just been reaching for this a lot. It's such a good neutral palette. This is the 1111 palette. And I just wanted to shout it out again because I really have been using it a lot. This is pretty much my most used neutral palette in the past month or two. And I just love it. It's so beautiful. I love like these cooler tone neutrals. I love these super metallic shimmers. These shimmers are stunning. And even though this palette is like a little bit more subtle, sometimes I like, you know, something a little bit more pigmented. But honestly, like for those really subtle, more natural looks, this palette is so perfect. I don't know if my mom just said my name. I don't know what just happened. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. I just wanted to mention it really quickly because I really have been loving it. I'll swatch. This shade Balance is so beautiful. It's like this really gorgeous, like super light pink shade. And it looks like that. It's just, oh. Do you see how metallic that is? It's actually like lining up really well with the Oden's Eye shimmers. The Oden's Eye shimmers, of course, have like a lot more multi-glitters in it and a lot more different glitters in it. But this one is still beautiful and it holds its own. And it's just, they're just super blinding on the lids. And every time I talk about this palette, it just makes me want to use them even more again. So yeah, I absolutely love this palette. I didn't think I was going to love this palette as much as I actually do. It really did surprise me, but after I saw Makeup by Trines review on it and I got it, I'm like, I'm so happy that I did. This is still the last ColourPop palette I've gotten. I don't think I got a ColourPop palette in November. They haven't really been releasing anything I'm super interested in, to be honest. The only thing that they have really launched in the past month was the relaunch of the Rudolph collection. And this is the palette I'm wearing today because I really wanted to whip it out because I want to use it a bit before Christmas and during Christmas, obviously. And this is the only time of year that I use it. But It's just a little bit weird. I think this is the last palette that they actually came out with besides the Cloud 9, and the Cloud 9 was almost like a few weeks ago at this point. So I don't know what's going on. I was a little bit salty that ColourPop didn't release a Christmas collection this year. I'm like, why didn't they do one this year, you know? But I'm so happy that they brought back the Rudolph collection because that's one of my favorite collections they've ever done. This is one of my favorite palettes from ColourPop. It's stunning. But it's more so a December favorite. But anyway, this is a great palette. So if you need a inexpensive neutral palette, the palette's great. And then, of course, I had to mention the Glaminatrix Cosmetics Rich Romantic palette again. I ended up loving this palette way more than I actually thought I was going to. At first, when I got it, I'm like, oh, it's not really super cohesive, but the mattes in this palette are so good. They're so pigmented, but they're so smooth and blendable. But this row of shimmers, man, these shimmers are absolutely insane. They're so stunning and multi-dimensional and beautiful and shifty on the lids and super sparkly. Glaminatrix has a friggin' fantastic shimmer formula. Their shimmers are so wet and metallic looking on the lids. And I've absolutely been loving pairing this with the Nearly Natural palette when I need like another matte that I need to pair with this palette if I don't have like a mid-tone matte. But this row of mattes are so good, and I finally used these two shades with this shade Charming, which is actually the look I'm going to do tomorrow because I really want to wear it again because it's such a beautiful look. But I really do want to use this palette again tomorrow because I do want to show it more love in December as well. But it's just such a beautiful palette. I love it. Even though this is their spring release because Australia is in spring right now, it's so pretty and I find myself wanting to use it in the winter time. I don't know, it's just, I feel like it's just such a pretty like fall wintry palette as well. Probably more so wintry vibes even though we're still in fall. It literally feels like winter because it's so cold out recently. But it's just so stunning and I'm so happy that I got this palette. Again, zero regrets getting this because it's so beyond gorgeous. I'm just going to swatch a couple of the shimmers, but Glaminatrix shimmers are like so ridiculously stunning. So this one is Rich and this one is Charming. They're just so beautiful and so shifty. Like, look at that. They're like friggin' blinding. So yeah, I really have been loving this palette. And hopefully I'll get some more use out of it this month. So yeah, that is the Glaminatrix palette. And then we have one more palette to talk about. And the last palette I wanted to mention was the Fantasy Cosmetica Druid palette. I finally got a chance to use this a bit more in November because I was really kicking myself. I wasn't able to use this until like November, but I had like a couple of other palettes to test out. Then I'm like, I really want to go back to using this. This quality, oh my god, Fantasy. I'm so glad that I decided to try Fantasy Cosmetica. They were on my list for so long, and this palette is absolutely beautiful. The mattes are so rich and beautiful and easy to blend and pigmented, and the shimmers are so ridiculously stunning on the lid. All of these palettes that I'm mentioning, I have no gripes with. I think all of them are fantastic. But the mattes are just so easy to use, and then these shimmers are so beautiful. I did this look that I absolutely loved, like like almost 2 weeks ago, but then I lost the clip somehow in my everyday makeup lookbook, and I was so mad. I basically just took this shade in the crease, this one on the defining area on the outer corners. And then I put Bare Form all over the lid, and then I put Forest on the lower lash line for a pop of green, and then I put Balance on the inner corners. It was so beautiful, and I really wanted to do like a neutral look with a pop of green with this palette because that's what this palette is for, and it was just stunning. And it's so hard to pick a favorite shade in this palette, but I really have been loving the shade Balance lately. I think I've been using that almost every time I use this palette because it's such a beautiful, super sheer, sparkly shade. Almost the same quality as the Glaminatrix. But I just love this palette. I think Glaminatrix and Fantasy Cosmetica and Cosmic Brushes are my 3 favorite eyeshadow brands this year. They are just so good. I really want to use my Cosmic Brushes palette again too, but it's more so like a spring summer palette for me. But this one, such a good fall palette. If you haven't tried Fantasy Cosmetica and you're thinking about it, I highly recommend them. Okay, so let's talk about some eyeliners and mascaras. Yes, I have some new eyeliners to talk about because I really needed to replace my Makeup by Mario liners because they were getting like pretty old. So I decided to get the Makeup Forever liners that everybody talks about during the Sephora VIB sale, and I do really like these. They are super smooth on the waterline and they're super pigmented. I've been using the shade, what is it called? Limitless Brown, a ton. I'm not wearing it today. I'm wearing a different one. And then the shade, Whatever Black, I've been using quite a bit for work. I do really like these, and they're super pigmented when I put them on. They just glide on the waterline so easily. They're super smooth, not like pokey or sharp at all. But I almost think they're a little bit too creamy to last a long time because I noticed like throughout the day that they've already like kind of almost worn off on my waterline. Like not completely, but like on the outside. Today I'm wearing one of the LA Girl ones, and I feel like even though this is only a $5 one, I kind of expect it to not last as long, and also this one is a little bit older. These are newer, and I still like them. Like, I'm still using them all the time. I mean, clearly I've been using the brown one a shit ton, but I still think I prefer the Makeup by Mario ones over these ones, but they're still good. Okay, and then as far as mascaras, I wanted to mention 3 of them because I did get that little Sephora favorites set during the Sephora VIB sale. So I have the Tarte Tartelette mascara. This is the tubing mascara. And this one is really good. This is probably my favorite one. It's just so good at building up curl and volume and length. It's so easy to coat this on my lashes, and it's just such a good mascara. So I really like that one. I also really have been liking the Lancome Idol mascara. This is probably the one I'm going to redeem for my free mascara. I think I have that coupon in my drawer. I'm going to have to check. But this one is really good because of the wand. It has a nice curved wand, and it's not as super separating and volumizing as the Tartelette one. I think the Tartelette one is still my favorite, but this one is really good. But I've been reaching for the Tarte one like a ton, but I've definitely been using this one a lot too. And then the other one, I'm not in love with Benefit as a brand. I don't really like, you know, what they stand for and all of that. But this is a good mascara as well. So this is the Benefit FanFest mascara, and this is still a good mascara. Like, they do know what they're doing when it comes to mascaras, and I do like the wand of this one as well. It's kind of like more of that twisted wand. It's not exactly super it's like not like curved one way. It's kind of more like a zigzag, but yeah, I really like this one too. So really good mascaras in that set. Now let's move on to bronzers and blushes. I only have one bronzer to mention because I always use like the same 5 bronzers. Today I'm wearing the ColourPop one, but this was the newest one to my collection, and I actually really like this one. So this one is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Bronzer in the shade Light. This one is a really, really light everyday bronzer. Honestly, this is probably the lightest bronzer that I own, but it's such a super soft, easy, blendable bronzer, and I really like it as like an everyday bronzer. I'm not really like the biggest fan of it for like when I go out all day, but wearing this like, you know, just to my boyfriends or like to run errands, I really have been liking it. It's just a super soft, easy, blendable formula, and I really have been enjoying it. So this is what the shade looks like. It's very light, as you can see, but it's just a super soft, pretty, like, flush of color, and I really have been liking that one. Hold on one second. Okay, so I just have 2 blushes to talk about. I was trying to find my other one that I really liked, but I just wanted to mention I really like the Makeup Forever Artist blush that I got during the Sephora VIB sale. It's called Anywhere Peach, and I do swatch it in that video, so if you guys want to see it, just check out that video. It's just for some reason I can't find it right now. I'm like, I don't know where the fuck it is, but I've dug through my bag of items that I haven't put away yet. I'm just so disorganized, not even funny. I've been spending 99% of the time when I'm home reading, so yeah, anyway, so for the blushes, so I did really love that one, and I wore that one a lot. So the other one I wanted to mention was the Danessa Myricks Beauty Blush in the shade, Jubilee. I need to use this a bit more. I probably should have used it today, but I just decided to use a ColourPop blush today. But it is really true what they say about Danessa Myricks' blushes. They are so ridiculously pigmented, and they're so nice on the cheeks. They're almost like a lipstick kind of formula. I feel like I could wear this on my lips and it would be like super comfy, because it does feel like a regular like lipstick formula. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's so good. It's so pigmented, and I really like this color for myself. And I'm glad that I got it, because I've been eyeing her. I was eyeing her blush for quite a while, and I'm so glad that I got it. And then another blush is the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blush in the shade Pretty Peach. I almost said Perry Peach. I don't know why. I've been wanting to try one of these blushes for so long. I haven't really picked up many drugstore products. I mean, not drugstore palettes. I don't pick up drugstore palettes, actually. Drugstore palettes just aren't for me. I prefer indie brands or ColourPop or Natasha Denona. But this blush was really on my radar for a while. Because I think Andrea Mattiliano raved about these, so I was like, I wanted to give them a shot. And this is really, really pretty on the cheeks. I think I've only used it maybe once or twice, because I kind of forgot about it because it was in my bag. I really need to get the makeup products out of this bag, but this is a really, really pretty blush. The swatch doesn't really do it justice because it is really nice. So I'm just going to put it next to me so I make sure I use it. I'm probably going to use it tomorrow. I'm just wearing a ColourPop blush today. I don't know why that's not very pigmented up here. Okay, and then the last cheek product I have, and then we just have just 2 lippies. I thought I had 3. I'm losing my mind. Did I have another one? Because I really don't remember. The last product I want to talk about is the Anastasia Beverly Hills highlighter in the shade Iced Out. I just don't want to talk anymore. I've been too social the past couple days. I want to relax after this. So what's funny is that I wanted to get her new highlighter that came out, but the associates that gave this to me accidentally gave me this one. And I didn't know until I got home and I started filming my haul video. And when I opened it up, and I was like, oh, this is not the right one. But I actually really, really love this one. This one is so beautiful. People were talking a lot of smack about this one, but it is stunning. I don't know why people didn't like this. It's so pretty on the skin. It's almost kind of like a duochrome highlighter. It has like a goldish peach shift to it, and it's so stunning on the skin. I really have never disliked Anastasia's highlighting formula. I think she makes stunning highlighters. I'm just not a huge fan of the brand anymore because they do support the war in Ukraine, but I really like this highlighter. It's really nice. I don't even know where to put this. And then for lips, I just have 2 because these were the 2 that I picked up during the Sephora VIB sale. So I really wanted to get another shade of the Haus Lab lip crayons. And this one's in the shade Honey Matte. And this one is such a pretty lipstick. I really love the lip crayons from Haus Labs. They're not drying whatsoever. Super pigmented. Very comfortable on the lips. And I use them as like an everyday lippy for me. I absolutely love them. I've used the older one in Dust like a gajillion times. Probably one of my most used lip products in my whole collection. And then I also wanted to get another shade of one of the Lawless lipsticks because I absolutely fell in love with this formula. And this one is the shade Wedding Day. I kind of wanted like a nudie pink from the line, and I like this one. It's a beautiful color. I really do like it. But it's just, I find that this one's a little bit more drying than the other two, but I still love it. Like, the lipstick that I'm wearing right now is actually a lot more comfortable. The Rudolph one by the ColourPop collection. The Rudolph ColourPop collection. But this one's a really nice one as well. Okay, so that's it for the makeup favorites. I do have one book favorite. And the reason why I only have one is because this was the book that I was reading towards the end of November, and this was the book that actually took me the longest to read out of all the books that I've gotten. I've actually read 3 books in the past week, the first week of December, because it's December 11th right now, and I'm on my 4th book right now, but I can't mention those until January because I read them all in December. But I did mention Love and Other Words and Fourth Wing last month, but the last book that I read in November was the sequel to Fourth Wing, which was Iron Flame. And I really, really enjoyed this book. I did an entire Get Ready With Me on this book. So if you guys have read it, spoiler alert, this is full of spoilers in my Get Ready With Me video. Sorry, one of my friends is messaging me. But I really, really enjoyed it. It was really, really fun. I think I preferred the first book over the second book, though. That's just me. I just felt a lot more emotionally attached to the first one as opposed to the second one, but this was still a good book. I still really liked it. So I just wanted to mention it as a favorite. I really did enjoy this series so far. I'm so glad I finally read some fantasy books because I haven't really read that many since Harry Potter. It's been like a long time, but my mom is getting me a fantasy series for Christmas. It's either going to be the ACOTAR series or the Throne of Glass series. I'm so excited to get into Sarah J. Maas. You don't even know. I'm super excited. And I just picked up 2 more books today because I'm almost done with the book that I'm reading right now. But I absolutely love this book. It was just so good. This one just took me like, I think a little bit more than 2 weeks to read because it was during Thanksgiving, so I was spending a lot of time with my family, and then I was working a lot, so I didn't really have as much time to sit down and read as I would have liked to, but I did finish it the day before November was over, and then I started my next book literally the next day, and then I finished that book in like 3 days, so really love this book. And then the last thing I want to mention really quickly is this sweatshirt. I did just get this yesterday, but so one of my customers in the store I work in, Lucky Brand, she came in wearing this in a t-shirt, and I was like, oh my God, where'd you get your shirt? I freaking love it. And she's like, I actually make these, and she probably just like makes the print and then just orders them in bulk and then sells them. So she can make her money back, which I'm like, whatever. I'm like, they're super cute. I'm like, can I get that? And I also got one for my brother as well. And I'm so obsessed because I wanted to get one for him for Christmas. And then I was like, I have to wear it today, and I have to wear it in my favorites video. And it's just so super comfy. And this is like our absolute favorite quote from The Grinch. So it says, my schedule, 4 o'clock, wall in self-pity. 4:30, stare into the abyss. 5 o'clock, solve world hunger. Tell no one. 5:30, jazzercise. 6:30, dinner with myself. I can't cancel that again. And then the last line is 7 o'clock, wrestle with my self-loathing. And then it says, I'm booked. So I was just super obsessed, and I was like, where'd you get that? I was like, I need it. I was like, I will pay you for these. And she dropped them off yesterday for me and my brother, and I just Zelled her, and I was like, friggin' awesome. So yeah, that is it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram at CBW819 and check out my Poshmark at the same handle. If you guys are interested in one of these, I will link it in the description box. If you guys like leave a comment and see if you're interested, then I will put it in the description box, or I'll probably just put it in the description box anyway, so I'll put a link to her Instagram. You know, support a small business. It's not really like an official business, but I think it's just super cool. Like, This is adorable. I'm going to wear this like every day until Christmas. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you all have a great day. Bye.